Welcome. Let's begin. Hiding in plain sight. It was Halloween night, a decade ago, when we first dared each other to go into that basement. The old cabin at the end of the town was falling apart. They said anyone who went down there never came back the same. We laughed it off, just another ghost story meant to scare kids. Gary was the first to go in, grinning like an idiot.
Give me 10 minutes, then come find me,
he said, disappearing down the dark stairway, his flashlight flickering as he descended. We waited, cracking jokes, convinced he'd jump out at us to give us a scare. But 10 minutes turned into 20, and Gary didn't come back. His girlfriend, Lisa, rolled her eyes and said,
"He's probably just trying to mess with us. I'll go drag him out."
She grabbed a flashlight and headed down, her voice echoing as she called his name. But after a few minutes, her voice cut off abruptly. We thought they were both in on the joke, laughing quietly in the dark, waiting to jump out and freak us out. We grabbed our flashlights, laughing nervously.
Alright guys, game's up.
We shouted, heading down the creaky steps. The air in the basement was stale, thick with dust, and the beam of our flashlights barely pierced the darkness. But there was no sign of Gary or Lisa. The room was empty, just old crates of cobwebs hanging from the ceiling. Our laughter died off when we realized we were alone. We checked every corner, every shadow, but they were gone, just gone. We tried to play it off, saying they must have run off to get some privacy, but deep down, we felt something wasn't right. The next day, when they still haven't shown up, the town chalked it up to young love and elopement. Locals said they ran off together to start a new life, and eventually we all moved on, but the memory of that basement never left us. Fast forward 10 years later, life happened, we drifted apart, but this Halloween we all ended up back in town. Over a few beers, the old story came up. We laughed nervously, daring each other to go back to that cabin to see what really happened. Half joking, half serious, we made our way, armed with nothing but courage and cheap flashlights and beer. The cabin was even more decayed now, nature swallowing it whole, but the basement door was still there, hanging on its hinges like a broken promise. We headed down the stairs, each step groaning under our weight. When we reached the bottom, the air felt cold, unnaturally cold, and then we saw them, two figures standing in the corner, staring at us. They looked like Gary and Lisa, but their faces were white, eyes hollow. We stood frozen, the breath knocked out of us. Then one of our friends, Sam, pointed at the wall and said,
Wait up.
The figures turned slowly, raising their arms to point at the same spot. We moved closer, and then that's when we saw it. A section of the wall that looked different, like it had been patched over. We ripped at the crumbling plaster, revealing a dark hollow behind it. Inside were two skeletons, wrapped in clothes that matched what Gary and Lisa were wearing the night they disappeared. Their bones twisted, their mouths frozen in silent screams. We stumbled back, horrified, as the ghost of Gary and Lisa faded into the shadows. But then the cabin filled with flashing blue lights and sirens. The police had arrived. Alerted by our frantic calls, as they examined the scene, they uncovered a name that sent chills down our spines. It was a boy from our school, a loner, the one everyone thought was weird. No one talked to him, he always seemed off. Turns out he never moved away. He stayed in town, blending into the background, watching, waiting. Killer had been right there all along, hiding in plain sight. Buried them behind the wall, let everyone believe they run away together, and then slipped back into the ordinary life of the town. The ghosts of our friends had led us to the truth, and as we stood there, haunted by what we had uncovered, I realized we were never just running from our monsters. We were running from the things that live among us, hiding in plain sight. The end.
Thank you for listening today. Stay safe out there.
Join us
In the next video.
and don't get too spooked.